Welcome back to Straight Facts live Monday morning. Hit the like and the share button. Make sure you are subscribing, and a big shout out to Filmora, the best way to edit your short content from your long format content, and a little bit more on them later. We've got a brilliant panel for you this morning, a little different as well, because I've got a few obligations in the middle of the week. So we move Straight Facts to a Monday. But we have Dom Husam here, who, if we look closely, has just about stopped crying after a disappointing final yesterday. Of course, Judge Mo was looking fresh. Inter Milan with a big win to go clear at the top of Serie A yesterday. And yes, Terry Flew does watch and follow other leagues as well. And Potsy's here after putting Chelsea into a spliff. Only a small one, a little one, a diddy one, but they did that yesterday. Good morning, gents. How are you all?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I mean, I would say I'm better than Husam. I can't talk too loudly, but I hope he's okay, man. I hope he's okay. That's all I'm saying.
I'm good. Listen, Newcastle deserved to win that yesterday. You get me? I think the most annoying thing for me has been the Salah conversations. That's the most irritating part of doing content. But Newcastle deserved to win the trophy. I can't say anything negative. And to be fair, like, if you're an Arsenal fan or a Spurs fan, you should be even more annoyed. Like, this is watching Newcastle win yesterday. You should be so irritated, I'll be honest with you, because that could have easily been you in that final right there. So, yeah, it is what it is, man.
I'm good. Everything is great, guys. Just good morning to everyone that is here. Afternoon. It's a good day. Dan is smiling finally. Good to see you smiling.
Yeah, it's about time, man. I've got to just accept every time we win now is like, let's just smile, because I'm tired and exhausted, man. So I've said enough.
You won the Chelsea Cup. It's great.
Yeah.
Been winning the Chelsea Cup for 4 years.
I mean, wow, we can talk on them for sure. I'm more than happy to talk on them. I'm sure Husam is as well. My good God. Wow.
Of course I am. Of course.
Look, I think people should just smile when their team wins a football match. I think as football fans, we become, and I have noticed a change, because growing up as a kid, when you won a football match, you were happy, but you think, okay, well, maybe because you're a child. I remember being a young adult, a fully grown man, before I started making content. Whenever you won a football match, I felt like you were happy, and I think, no disrespect to Newcastle, but Liverpool are much bigger rivals to the likes of Arsenal, of course, Manchester United, Chelsea, than Newcastle are. So yeah, there's right to banter them for losing yesterday. And I'll tell you why they're right to banter them. This time 2 years ago, Man United won the Carabao Cup, and we got bantered for celebrating winning it. So the idea that Spurs fans, or maybe Spurs, because they don't win any trophies, different category, right? But the idea that Man United fans, because we're 15th, 14th actually, we shouldn't banter Liverpool today. The idea, because Arsenal are not in the final, they shouldn't banter Liverpool, I think it's ridiculous. We have seen teams get bantered for winning trophies and celebrating it with their country's flags on their backs, Sam. So from my perspective, I think one of the only bad elements to come out of football content creation is, I think it's made sort of, it's turned some people really grumpy. Oh, I can't celebrate because I'll get cooked, because it means I've got low standards, as an example, or if I celebrate this or ban. One thing I've never understood where people attack the Arsenal fan base over is when you guys celebrate someone not going invincible. I don't understand why that gets attacked. I just think it's an amazing achievement that only your team has done in the Premier League era. Why would you not be happy that other teams haven't matched it? For me personally, I think that is something to be happy about, because it's a uniqueness to your football club. And the irony is, the people that really push this are the individuals that say winning and trophies and records are the only things that matter. Yet they're always the same people that, however many years down the line, they want to diminish those trophies they say they're chasing. So yeah, for me, you should always be happy when you win. You should always banter your rivals when they lose big and important games. If we take that out of football, personally, I think we kill the game. It's a bit like making a hamburger. If you kill the fat, you kill the burger. You take the fat out of a burger, it's going to taste like shit. You take that element out of fandom, I think football dies very, very quickly. So, yeah, I hear where you guys are coming from. On Liverpool yesterday, you said a minute ago, Husam, the Salah conversations are annoying you. What is it about the Salah conversations that you're not enjoying?
What I'm not enjoying is just revisionism of football. Like, I'm 29 years old. I watched a whole lot of football my whole life. Like, people can't come tell me about nostalgic stuff and think that I just don't know. I didn't watch those same guys. Arsenal fans spent the whole day yesterday telling me this is why he can never be Thierry Henry. Yeah, but Henry has 0 goals in finals as well. Like, I saw Michael Owen score 2 goals in a final against Thierry Henry when Thierry Henry did nothing. I saw Thierry Henry pass it twice to Victor Valdez, 2006 Champions League final, 2 1-on-1s, passed them both to Valdez. I've literally seen the best of the best players, miss chances in finals, don't score goals in finals, and no one ever says, "Oh, Thierry Henry is not a big game player." People don't say that because he scored the most goals against like Chelsea, Spurs, whoever, and whatever he done in the league, and all the records he broke. And it's the same thing to Erling Haaland as well. Erling Haaland didn't score a goal in a semi-final or a final that the year that he is supposed to win Ballon d'Or. Oh my God, look how many goals Haaland has scored. They won the treble. He should win the Ballon d'Or. Okay, he scored 0 goals in the semi-final and 0 goals in the final as well. And my thing is with the game yesterday, just on watching the game yesterday on a 90-minute basis, the reason why the game panned out the way it did is because Eddie Howe outcoached Arne Slot. And Eddie Howe said it in the post-game yesterday. Our idea was to essentially occupy Dan Burn on that space and allow Livramento to go forward. And his plan worked because Slot walked right into his plan and started playing long balls to Salah. And a long ball to a 5'7" winger is never going to beat a 6'6" center back. So I think we got completely outcoached and we got dominated and we deserve to lose that game. But pinning that game on Mo is just weird because the reason why we lost the game is the tactical element, because I think we got outcoached. I think midfield got run by like there's no tomorrow. And I think our forward line as well had a horrible game. Trent not being there meant we didn't have that creativity, that outlet that we do have in case we do have to play long ball. It's actually accurate long ball. Dan Burn had 18 headers yesterday. Like that's just not a normal stat. So for me with Mo, you can constructively criticize without going over the top. And by the way, I did give Mo like blame against PSG. PSG, I think, okay, fair enough. PSG, I think at the start specifically, we created like 2-3 clear-cut chances. He should have scored. I understand, deserves criticism. Yesterday, if I don't even get you the ball, I can't blame you. I genuinely believe had I had prime Neymar on right wing yesterday, he wouldn't have done anything because he didn't even get the ball to begin with. And that's the thing that irritates me the most.
I think what you're doing though, Husam, is you're biting for the people that want you to buy it. So the rival fans are giving it to you and they know that you're going to buy it. And they're like, oh, this is why Salah's rubbish. This is why Salah's rubbish. Because they know you're going to buy it. Because you stick up for him. And viewers might not want to hear this. They might want to hear me coming for Husam here. But I'm kind of going to stick up for him a bit because I think he's one of the most disrespected footballers, Mo Salah. I think when you look at what he has done and what has continued to do in the last 7 years, it has been delivered. Now, it's a bit like, when Terry mentioned a burger earlier, it's a bit like saying that's the best burger I've ever had, but it's just shame there wasn't an extra pickle in it. Like, that's what they're picking at. You know what I mean? This guy has literally delivered in every single season. In my opinion, now he'll go down as one of the greatest Liverpool players there ever has been. So when he doesn't win in a final, I used to get the same stuff. Yeah. So actually, the Arsenal fans that are giving it to you, I'm quite surprised because they should understand what this feels like. Because we had this with Thierry Henry. Oh, he hasn't scored in a cup final. How can you put him as one of the greatest players ever? Like you say, you mentioned Michael Owen, but there's other players that have scored in cup finals that are nowhere near the level of Salah or Thierry Henry. Now, I actually think that Eden Hazard and Thierry Henry, and maybe there's other players in their prime that might be better than Mo Salah. But as a footballer, he is an incredible footballer. And he's won this season that has just absolutely knocked it out of the park. If you look at the stats, if you look at the goals, you look at the assists. But people are going to love this, Sam, because Liverpool have got a certain section of their fan base that were going quadruple. Then they lost the Plymouth treble, or it might be the mini treble, and now it's down to 1. But I think yesterday proved to me one thing. Newcastle badly wanted a trophy, and Liverpool just want the Premier League. That's what it proved to me. They're not too bothered about another League Cup. The players clearly weren't. The fan base was literally the whole TV that I saw was just Newcastle fan. I didn't even know Liverpool fans were there. It was just panning in on Newcastle fans the whole game. Whether there were celebrities, whether there were ex-players, whether it was a fan base of them crying, getting up for it. It was as if there was no Liverpool fans there, to be fair. So, Yeah, squeaky bum times at the end when Chiesa scores. But if I'm honest with you, I thought there was one team that turned up. I thought Newcastle were class. I thought Bruno Guimaraes was outstanding. Isak does what Isak does. I was really impressed. And if I'm honest with you, I think Eddie Howe deserves a hell of a lot of credit. I think he's always been a good manager. I've never put him in the elite bracket. And I've always said that perhaps if Newcastle want to go and be that team, maybe they need someone better that's got a CV that's more impressive than Eddie Howe. But then he keeps surprising me. I mean, he's absolutely schooled my manager about 4 or 5 occasions. And then he's gone and done the same with Slot yesterday. So Newcastle deserve their flowers. The Salah conversation is going to keep happening. And the other conversation that's going to keep happening is all 3 of them are going to go. Because a lot of people are saying today it looks like all 3 of them could go now. Now, I always believed Trent would probably go to Real Madrid because when they come knocking, it's a different knock. But if you lose them 3, Sam, boy, wow. I don't know where.
Yeah, of course. But here's the thing: if people are trying to act like Mo is not a big game player and he's replaceable easily and blah blah blah, then we shouldn't have a problem replacing him. And this is where your conversations just become weak conversations.
Yeah,
and Dan hasn't done that, and Terry hasn't done that, and Mo hasn't done that. But people are doing that. People are acting like he's easy to replace, or it's just
No, but
a regular.
hold on. I actually think, Sam, here's the problem. You do something and you don't like it when people do it to you. Like you have been criticizing the likes of Cole Palmer, you have been criticizing the others. Yes, Mohamed Salah, what happened in the last 2 games does not change the fact that he might break the record for the most GA in a league, right? But that's the Premier League. Over the last 2 games, you have played not in the Premier League, you have played in the Champions League, which is everyone puts you as favorites or second favorites behind Real Madrid. And the guy hasn't turned up at all. I'm Egyptian, you know I'm his biggest fan. The guy hasn't turned up. He was shit in the first game, and he was even worse in the second game. Yesterday, and that is what we say all the time, your superstars, the difference makers, even if the plan is wrong, even if the other players are playing bad, he should at least rise above everyone else. But he was dragged into how bad Liverpool were, and he was exactly the same as the rest of them. And that is why people have the right to criticize Mohamed Salah. Because we put him on that pedestal. For these 2 games, I'm given, yes, Arne saw.
No one's saying you don't criticize him. No one is saying that.
But that's what people are doing. They're saying he hasn't turned up in these 2 games.
No, people aren't criticizing him. People are doing too much. People are doing completely
We're
too
not
much.
talking about these people, but if he's a superstar, if he's above the rest, if he's better than all of these people, he should at least rise above them and provide Liverpool with something different. That's it. That's it.
Do you know what I find interesting about it? I mean, firstly, I don't want to take anything away from Livramento. I saw these stats that were posted about him today. You know, he won 100% of his duels yesterday. He won 100% of his tackles on Mo Salah. 100% dribble succession. He didn't get dribble past in the whole game. And this is a crazy stat. It's the first time ever Mo Salah has been limited to no shots and no chances created in a game where he's played 90+ minutes. So I think there's an element where Livramento needs praise, and I wouldn't take that completely away from him. Where I agree with Mo is people go too far, and it actually ruins the debate because they want to go too far. You cannot undo Mo Salah's legacy because of 2 bad games on the bounce. You also can't listen. There's a stat that's come out today, which is always a fact. Mo Salah has never scored from open play in any final that he has played in, and that is damning. But that's only damning when you're nitpicking between him and the other greats. Mo Salah is still a Liverpool great, and he is still a Premier League great, and he is still a European football great. And when I say Europe, I know he's from Egypt and Africa, but he's played his professional career in Europe. He's a European player in that respect. He's one of the greats in that conversation. Where yesterday goes against him, for me, and the PSG game, I think both those performances stop him 100% from winning the Ballon d'Or. I don't believe he'll go on to win it. I think to win it, if you're based in England, you've got to be almost flawless. So I think that'll go against him. And these types of performances, these types of stats and facts will go against him when it comes to GOAT conversations. That being said, when it comes to his club career, Thierry Henry wasn't good in finals as well. But that's something that goes against him if you're going to. And I think you have to nitpick when it comes to the greatest. The problem I have with these conversations is a little like Dan and Sam have alluded to. People want to throw baby out with the bathwater, want to tear the script up and say that proves he's a complete and utter crap player. He's rubbish. There was never anything good about him whatsoever. He's always been overrated. The idea people call him a stat padder. Well, the biggest game each Premier League season for Liverpool, outside of a head-to-head with title contenders, which, by the way, I've seen him score in. I've definitely seen him score against City in title races. I've definitely seen him score against big teams, in big cup games and stuff. Look at his goal scoring record against your biggest rivals, Manchester United. His goal record in that game is absolutely phenomenal.
Most goals.
So it's one of those things for me where I just look at it and I'm like, can't we just... It ruins the actual debate, which is what does this damage about his legacy? Does it stop him winning the Ballon d'Or? Why was Livramento able to pocket him? They're, for me, interesting, constructive conversations, not this proves Mo Salah is a bad footballer. That's all I'm hearing. These are the kind of people that need... That's why the labels say on bleach, do not drink, because people like that will drink it. And it bores me. Like, genuinely, I'm just bored of those kind of footballing conversations. It muddies the water so much when actually there's some interesting conversations to be had around Mo Salah. And a lot of it is Newcastle did a phenomenal job. They literally thought they understood how Liverpool play, and Liverpool like to go direct when they attack. Yes, they might hold on to the ball, but it's 2 or 3 passes into their attack. And what they did is they played in a way where they pressured Liverpool, so they created an isolation. So long ball had to be played. And then you're playing long balls, and Dan Burn and Livramento were cleaning that up, and Liverpool didn't have anywhere else to go. That should be the talking point, not this proves Mo Salah's a stat padder. That, for me, is just such a basic bitch conversation to have, when actually there's something far more substantial as football fans we could sink our teeth into, and everybody seems to be ignoring that, which is crazy. On Liverpool, I saw this tweet today and I wanted to get your views on it, guys. And there's a Liverpool fan who says here, somehow the only team that fails to win the quad, somehow the only team that fails to win the quadruple, even though numerous other teams have had the chance, we're the ones who are meant to look like we're losers. So a lot of people saying that Liverpool will be made to look like losers because they're only going to win the Premier League. I've seen a lot of Liverpool fans come out and say this. I mean, the interesting thing is this person, David, who was actually talking about the quad. Do you think, Potsy, this is because a lot of Liverpool fans were talking about the treble, talking about quads, talking about we're going to do doubles? Maybe they took Newcastle a little bit easy. Do you think that's why Liverpool are getting a lot of stick for quote unquote only winning the Premier League?
I think what we're doing, and I'm guilty of doing this as well, I think all of us are, is we tar all football fans with social media fans in the same. Now, if we were to go to the pub and talk about this, we probably wouldn't be mentioning this at all. Going, Liverpool, they're going to win the league, but they probably should have won more, and that would have been the end of it. But because we all look and listen on social media, and then we then tar everyone with the same brush. We do it with Arsenal fans as well. We've got a section of our fan base who all know them, and they're absolutely insufferable. And if we win anything, it'll be a long for all of you, right? But with Liverpool, it's very similar. There's a section of the fans that are like, oh my God, we're so disrespected. Arne Slot's coming. He's going to win a quadruple. There's going to be trebles. You could probably search it on Twitter and see who those people were now, right? So that's why those people then bite back. And then what happens is the people that aren't actually being targeted by that tweet or quote then get the hump about it. And I've probably done the same with Arsenal, to be fair. Why are they saying this? I didn't say it. Or it's obviously not targeted at you then because you didn't say it, right? And I think that's what we do. So when you see those kind of tweets, it's definitely, if you're reading that thinking, rolling your eyes going, right, I never said that, it's clearly not targeted at you. If you're reading it thinking, oh, wow, yeah, I need to hold an L here because I thought the Slot was going to win more. And if I'm honest with you, I probably think Liverpool should have won more. And I said that when they were under Klopp. In the 9 years he was there, they should have won more. Like, to think they're literally still in the bracket Premier League-wise with Leicester and Blackburn when Klopp was there for 9 years is crazy to me with the team that he had. So this season, I think Slot probably should be looking at that now going, wow, maybe I should have got more. Before a ball was kicked, I would have said no. It's his first year in the Premier League. When you look at what the expectation change was within the last couple of weeks, you probably look at it and think, yeah, he's probably gutted he didn't at least pick 2 of them up. Going out of the Champions League and then going out of the league. Obviously, the Plymouth one, I was hearing a lot of Liverpool fans go, I really don't care. Like, yeah, I would have loved to have won it, but it's not really a massive issue to me. But now you're thinking, wow, 3 of them have gone. There's only 1 to get, which, let's be real, they're going to get 12 points ahead of us. I mean, if they do bottle that, wow, I don't know what to say. If I'm honest with you, I just don't see that happening. With what, 9 games left, is there? Something like that. So
if we bottle that, I will quit YouTube. I'm telling everyone right now. Terry, good luck on Straight Facts. Mo, good luck on MHF. Dan Potts, it was nice working with you. I'm leaving. I'm using my chemical engineering degree to go work. I can't do this. Like if we end up,
I mean, you say that though. I mean, I saw this tweet today, and again, I'm not taking this as read. I wanted to get you guys' opinions on it. This person here says Arne Slot simply isn't who we thought. Easily wins the league with his style, as it will prevail over 38 games, over 2 legs, or in a final. It won't get you far. Very disappointed. It does then go to say, hopefully he will get the players that kind of he needs in the summer. It was a weird tweet because I feel like if you're good enough to win a league over 38 games, you're also good enough to win other competitions. I know we sometimes say somebody's a cup manager. Typically, someone who's a cup manager is someone who's actually quite a good coach, but doesn't have the ability to be consistent regularly enough in the league. Where if you're good enough to be regular, if you're good enough to be consistent in the league, you can win cup competitions as well. But a few Liverpool fans online I've seen again, and I wanted to get your opinions on this, tweeting, putting this out there. They're nervous. They're worried about a potential collapse. Surely that's not going to happen. They're not going to fall apart. They haven't been exposed. They haven't been found out, Mo. There can't be a big collapse here.
They can't fall apart. They can't. Arsenal have given up. They can't fall apart. Liverpool need to win 4 games to win the Premier League, guys. They are 12 points ahead of Arsenal. There's 9 games left. So basically 4 games from here and not a loss against Arsenal at home and Liverpool are winning the league. They're not going to fall off. And also, I don't think there is any alarming signs for Liverpool, to be honest. Arne Slot, with no signings, are on course to actually get 90-plus points, which Arsenal have not got 90-plus points in the last, how many years? Dan can tell me.
21 years.
I've not got 90-plus points. And Arne Slot in his first season with no signings, with no DM, with Gravenberch playing as a DM, with Trent in and out of the team, with Robertson left back, Gakpo and Diaz, and no striker, he's about to get 90 points. And the revisionism of Arne Slot is mad. Yes, he was out-coached by Luis Enrique, who has more experience, and maybe he's a better coach than him. Maybe he was out-coached by Eddie Howe as well, and the players let him down. But that doesn't change anything for what he did in the league. The guy literally is storming the league. Even if Arsenal had no injuries, no one can guarantee that Arsenal will get 90-plus points because they haven't gotten that before. Yet, so people tell me that, Arne is not won the league because it's easy. No. Imagine you're doing this without any signings and FSG letting you down. I think people are overreacting. People just forget. They have short memory. You know what I mean? The goldfish memory thing. And yes, he was out.
Completely. I think there is an element of truth in the tweet. I do think. Look, winning the league and winning, as I've seen it with Jurgen Klopp, and as I've seen him win knockout competitions as well, I do think knockout competitions have a different element to them than winning the Premier League. Winning the Premier League, you need a solid style and a solid system that gets you through 80% of the game while still having, forwards or players or in general, difference makers and stuff like that. Now you look at the knockout competitions, and this applies to the Champions League. Like, the reason why I don't think Dan Potts' team is going to beat Real Madrid, which I know we're going to get into it later, is because simply they don't have enough difference makers on the pitch who can make a difference out of nothing. So I understand why they're going to lose. But when you look at us, we did have those difference makers, but the difference makers weren't put in a position where they can difference make to begin with. And I do think, I'll put to you this way, I'm not even going to use an example of an unbelievable manager. I'm going to use an example of a very, very good manager. I think if Rafa Benitez was the Liverpool manager in the last 2 games, we are Carabao Cup champions and we're through to the quarterfinals. Because I do think Arne Slot's system and style suits you winning a 38-game season, Premier League and stuff like this, which Mo is right at the start of the season. I mean, people, first of all, the first tweet is spot on. We're the only football club that are expected to win the quadruple. Like, so who wins a quadruple with signing no one?
You're too loud. You're too loud. Your fan base is always loud about it.
Let me just interject there for a minute, right? So this is what I would say. You can't, and I've tried to do this as best I can. Sometimes I forget to do it when you say some. like the Jamie Carragher comment on Redmen TV. Big up Redmen, love the boys over there. But I was very specific in my tweet where I said some Liverpool fans. They tried this, and for me, the meme that came into my head was from the In-Betweeners, where I think it's Simon turns around and sort of says, I don't know, mate, that sounds a bit dodgy. The idea on the eve of the Carabao Cup final, suddenly Liverpool fans backing Jamie Carragher, some Liverpool fans backing Jamie Carragher, and there's thousands of them, by the way, that it's a better competition. Or it's only Premier League, only league teams in it, so it's harder, it's better. It's not as prestigious, but it is better. No one said that up until 2025. When it's come to the last couple of times you've been on for a quad, the excitement comes in. And the reason why you're getting the criticism isn't because you haven't won the quad. It's because, one, you tried changing history. As the members of your fan base tried changing history, saying, well, if we win the League Cup, the Champions League and the Premier League, it's still the same as the treble. It's not different. Well, that's not the history of the competition. This is, the double started in 1886. The treble was something that's been discussed and documented since the 1960s, and they tried to rewrite history. I think when you have members of your fan base trying to rewrite history, trying to reprioritize the quality of tournaments to suit a narrative to make what was going to be a brilliant achievement if you did it even better, I think when you have a big, noisy percentage of your fan base that does that, there's always going to be kickback. An example being the Igals of this world, the Rory Talks Footballs who support Arteta through thick and thin, who say there's no better manager available by and large, that big up Arsenal massively. When they lose or something goes wrong, there is a massive backlash. So I don't necessarily think it's Liverpool the only team that are expected to win a quad. It's that some of your fans went far too far in trying to make what could have been an amazing season even better than it was. And I do think Liverpool, and maybe other clubs fit this category too, but I think Liverpool always have this habit. They have a percentage of their fan base, no matter how much you praise them, they're like Oliver Twist. Can I have some more? They always want a little bit more. I've literally been attacked before by saying, oh, that was a great performance. What do you mean great? I mean, it's great. You're brilliant. It was better than great. It's like, oh, fuck me. Do you know? I'll give you an example. There are some Liverpool fans that attack me because I haven't said they're scary. I said you're the best in the world. They went, yeah, but scary sounds better. How does being scary sound better than being the best in the world? So I think I was going to interject there, Sam, because I know you don't do it individually, but some Liverpool fans do. And you saw it with Carragher with this whole, I think the Carabao Cup's better. Why is Jamie Carragher, who's been on TV for over a decade, why has he never said that in the build-up to a final that doesn't involve Liverpool?
What does he mean by that as well? What does that actually mean? Better than what? What does it mean?
He does give it some context, and he says, he sort of says, I know the FA Cup's better. But he thinks being in the FA Cup can damage you winning the Premier League. And again, this is the irony in it. But that's why when you win the Premier League and the FA Cup together, the double, that's why it's so prestigious, because it makes both harder. So you're literally in his own explanation as to why the Carabao Cup is better, because it doesn't get in the way, he said, of winning a Prem because it's midweek games. Although people say being in Europe and winning a Premier League's harder because you're playing 2 games a week. But let's just go with his logic. The reason why winning the FA Cup and Premier League together has always been so prestigious is because being in both races makes both harder to win, which is why winning them together is so amazing. It just frustrates me how I don't like football history being rewritten to suit an agenda of one particular, I don't like it that suddenly in football being good at taking penalties is seen as a negative. I'll always fight back. Yes, Bruno Fernandes is in that. He's a United player, but I'll defend Mo Salah from penalty claims. Palmer's goal record's crap. Take his penalties away. Why? He's good at them. Why are we taking away an attribute? I just don't like this rewriting of football. For me, it's stinky, bruv. It's really stinky.
Yeah, but you guys rewrote history in 1992 as soon as the Premier League started. You wanted to remove everything that happened before it, because I did show you.
But that isn't true.
Let me respond. Don't get triggered.
20 times. No,
I showed you newspaper articles from 1984 where newspaper headlines said Liverpool first team to win a treble. So we can't make stuff up.
Hang on. Let me just stop you for a second, because we don't need to go down this road. I admit the phrase a treble existed. No one has said a treble didn't exist. The treble and a treble are very different things, and the semantics over this matter because language
England
matters
have
in this.
2 domestic cups. It's the same thing. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
but that is why it's called a treble and a D treble, Husam, because
They are
Italy,
different.
Spain, they're different, Husam. The main cup in England has always been the FA Cup. That is the most historic cup. The Carabao Cup is an addition to this. It is very known that to win a treble, because by the way, once you call the treble, it has to be equal to the Germany, to the Italy, to the Spain, to the Portugal one, because now all of them are playing in the same competition, which is the Champions League. Liverpool winning a treble, that is not a lot of people win a treble. It's a treble of trophies. You can win the Super Cup, you can win the 2 cups. That is called the a treble.
No, now you're being disingenuous.
No, I'm
Now you're
being so honest.
disingenuous.
You are
Because
just
we're
don't
not
understand
talking-
it.
No,
The
now you're being
FA Cup,
disingenuous.
the
We're
FA
not
Cup,
talking about winning Carabao Cup, FA Cup, and Europa League, and then saying treble.
the
We're
Carabao
saying
Cup
Champions
is
League.
not part of the treble.
Okay,
We're not gonna
everyone
do
is
this.
shouting now, and it's going to turn into shouting match unnecessarily. Okay. The newspaper in 1984 titled it "Liverpool become first English team to win treble." End of discussion. A treble, the treble, it doesn't make a difference. The difference is in England they have 2 domestic cups, unlike the other countries. Spain has Copa del Rey. End of discussion. There is no, Copa del Carabao Rey. There is no different thing. Like, it's just one competition, and they compete in that one competition. England have 2 domestic trophies, so a treble or they treble does not matter at the end of the day in England. If it's just the FA Cup
No,
is more
but
prestigious.
it does.
I
It
do
does.
agree.
It does matter.
Let me
It does
finish,
matter.
please.
It does matter. You
I
can't
do
say
agree
that.
that the FA Cup
But you're doing
is-
it there, Husam. Sorry to interject over you, but you're saying a and the. It doesn't matter. You're rewriting over 130, 140 years of English football history. I'll be honest with you, brother. No football fan has the right to just do that to make their
I'm
team
not
sound better.
rewriting history. I do agree that the FA Cup is more prestigious than the Carabao Cup. I'm not denying this. But Liverpool have won a treble, and it's happened before.
Great.
And
I just googled Liverpool treble. Liverpool won the treble in 2001. Liverpool completed the treble consisting of Football League, Cup, FA Cup, and UEFA Cup. It's a treble as well. That's what Google says. It's a treble as well.
And this is the thing, right? On a level, you won 3
disingenuous.
trophies. You can call that a treble. You can call it a mini treble. You can call it 3 trophies. I have no personal issue with that. It's not even the claim that that's a treble that bothers me. It's the idea that it's the same as the treble, which for decades has been distinguished and has been very what's the word I'm looking for? Concisely categorized as winning the most prestigious, winning your league title, winning the biggest league title in your country, winning the most prestigious domestic cup in your country, and winning the most prestigious continental cup within your continent. So that's 3 things. It means you have to win the Premier League in England, the FA Cup, and then the Champions League in Europe. There is no other, and it's distinguished and categorized by UEFA directly. And I think it's the sort, and you mentioned 1984. There's commentary from 1977 after Man United beat Liverpool in the FA Cup final, when Emlyn Hughes is walking up the stairs to pick up the losers' medals, where the commentator says, and there's a dejected Emlyn Hughes, the treble sort of falls through their fingers again. So that phrase has been used all that time. I just think that Liverpool get crap online because they're just trying to whitewash history. And I think that things matter. Like we all know what the phrase the Invincibles means. It means you go a league campaign unbeaten. You can't start, for me, I don't think you can start using it because you don't lose a game in the Champions League, because you don't lose a game in a domestic cup competition in a season. If you won both domestic cup competitions without losing a game, I wouldn't consider that going invincible. And I don't think we should change that language because it has meaning and it's something prestigious that I would love Man United to achieve one day. What I wouldn't want to start doing is creating different variations of it so I can squeeze myself in. And that doesn't take away from the sort of 3 trophies you've won in those seasons. They're amazing achievements and they should be celebrated, but they'll get shat on by people when people try and twist them. Let's do a few of the comments that have come in here because I think it's important to get the audience involved here. This year says, what can Newcastle and Eddie Howe achieve with a good window this summer? What are you saying?
I think they've got a really, really good opportunity next season, Newcastle. The biggest thing for them is to keep hold of Isak, who, by the way, is just incredible. I mean, is he the best striker in the world right now? I mean, people will say Mbappe and Haaland's and all this. This guy, for me, if you look at everything he's doing, wow, just wow. But I think, honestly, if they keep hold of their players, they get their goalkeeper, they get their centre-back partnership, they clearly need a right winger. And I'd actually say they probably need a backup striker as well, because if Isak was to go down, I'm not sure Callum Wilson is reliable enough as the guy. I think they could go for a title push. I don't think they'll win it. I think they could go for a title next season, Newcastle, because they haven't spent in 4 windows. You know that? 4 windows. If they get the recruitment right and keep what they've got a good 11. They need to get 5 or 6 players in. But if they start to get a squad that's kind of 15 to 18, I think they could get to sort of February, March and still be in with a chance if they have a season that, we expect them to. Because I have Newcastle to get into the Champions League this season. Everyone laughed because they had 1 game a week. The only reason that they didn't last season was because they had a depleted squad and they had to go into a Champions League and all the rest of it. I think Newcastle are very, very good. Really, really good. I think they've got everything to be an elite club. So, yeah, I think they've got a great chance. They have to get the recruitment right and they have to keep the players fit. But I'm not saying they're going to win the league, but I think they've got a very, very good chance.
No, I'm not sure yet that Eddie Howe is ready to take that next step to actually challenge.
I agree. I don't think he can challenge for the league either.
Like, even if they get the recruitment correct, I'm not sure if Eddie Howe will need to actually cement himself first in a top 4, for 2 years before, and be able to deal with 2 competitions at the same time, especially one of them being a European competition.
It's the last time they were in the Champions League.
That's a massive thing, by the way. It's a massive thing having to be doing with European a Wednesday or a Thursday night football, and then the weekend. Even with a deep squad, some managers just can't do it. And I haven't.
Let me just come in quickly, sorry, Tel, with why I think that. This is looking at things right now. I imagine teams have got to get better because, without being no disrespect for Liverpool, they clearly deserve it. Everybody's been crap this season. And I mean, really crap. The standard is abysmal in the Premier League right now, if I look at it. And Liverpool fans hate it when I say that because, oh my God, it's crap. Look at the state of some of the games, man. Like, real talk. I'm used to seeing Henri v Drogba, and now I've got Pedro Neto versus Mikel Merino. Like, what's happening here? Like,
was it crap last season,
crap.
Dan?
Yeah. Say again?
Was it crap last season?
No, this season I'm talking about. I look at this season, I think it's poor.
Do you think it was crap last season?
I mean, it wasn't great, but it was better than this season, right?
No, I disagree, because last season we also watched Pedro Neto compared to Henri versus Drogba. So it's for me, I think this is the best league we've seen in a while. Proper Barclays. Anyone can beat anyone.
No, okay. So I think it's been competitive, but I don't think the quality's been good.
Dan, can I ask you a question on that?
I think Bournemouth, Brighton, Brentford, some of these clubs are amazing.
Do you not think that we've gone down to their level, though, Husam? Like, they've been good, but we've come down, or have they gone, wow, they're up here?
I disagree with Dan.
Guys, you could be right. Let me throw this question out. Have the levels been equalized? Because it's no longer as easy for Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, City, United to just go and buy all the best players from these other clubs. I look at, if you just take Bournemouth, they have soul players, to be fair, but they've got a conveyor belt. But if you think about the Bournemouth players, the Forest players, 10 years ago, 20 years ago in the Premier League, 2 or 3 of those Forest players would have been bought by Chelsea or City in the January. They'd have just gone, he looks good, let's throw the money at it. The TV money wasn't as good. Do you know what I'm saying? I feel like that used to happen a lot more, where you go, bloody hell, he's looking good down there. Let's just buy him. You know, like how the big tech companies buy up a competitor. Sometimes they buy them and then crash the business. They don't even want to develop it, but it might compete with them one day. I just feel like it's so hard now to take the top players away from other teams. You're spreading that quality out across 20 teams rather than it being sort of top heavy in 5 or 6 sides, maybe.
Yeah, but then that literally proves the point that this league is better than any other league it's ever been, because the distance between the teams in mid-table and the teams at the top is a lot smaller distance, you know. And you look at some of the stuff that's happening this year. I mean, people just going based off a nostalgia basis. I'd rather watch Iraiola's Bournemouth over Tony Pulis's Stoke. I'd rather watch, you know, this current version of Brighton under Hertzler than anything West Brom had 12 years ago, 13 years ago. They were boring as hell to watch with that Olsen guy at the back who had long hair. They were boring as hell to watch. This is the best Premier League has ever been for a really long time. Anyone can beat anyone. The quality is unbelievable. There's about 8-9 incredible managers in this league. Nottingham Forest are in 3rd place winning games of football consistently this season, which proves that this league has been amazing. And I think, you know, Dan Potts, I love you, but I think this is a coping mechanism, because
Yes.
if Liverpool win, if let's say for the sake of argument, Liverpool win 7 out of the remaining 8 games, or whatever, 8 out of the remaining 9 games, whatever it is, right? I think Liverpool end the season on 94 points, which would have won the league last season and the year before that. And if by definition the distance between the teams at the top and the teams in the middle is smaller, and we get even more points than the league champions last year and the year before that, then this is an even more impressive title win because of the quality in this league, which has been absolutely
Let me tell you
incredible.
why I disagree with Husam. Let me tell you why I disagree. I know Mo's going to agree with Husam here. So let me just throw this in quick. Tottenham might not even make 40 points, and they're clearly going to stay up because everybody below them is absolutely abysmal. I've seen Southampton that are going to beat
Hang on,
Derby
sorry, Dan. Do you know what I
somehow.
love about that? We're above them
Go on.
now, so we're above them now.
Yeah,
So
there you go. See?
Hey.
Manchester United are crap. Tottenham are crap. Chelsea are rubbish. We've got Villa and Newcastle that people are bigging up, but they're still not guaranteed to even make the Champions League, let alone get into like any form of title race. We've got Arsenal, who I support and I think have been absolutely embarrassing this season. Yeah. And then you've got the likes of the 90s and the 2000s, where, let's be real, let's just look at England strikers. Yeah. Right now, name me 5 of the England strikers, because I can name you from the 90s and 2000s, probably 15. Andy Cole and Ian Wright didn't even get any England caps hardly because of Teddy Sheringham and Alan Shearer. Now we've got Harry Kane, Ollie Watkins, and now I'm drawing up already. Solanke, Tammy Abraham, Ivan Toney, who's over in Saudi. Are we really going there? This quality is the best we've seen. I mean, I know you're younger than me, Sam, but crikey. Like, this is not the best Premier League season
that has
we've
been
seen.
happening, Dan, but that has been happening over the past. Still, Erling Haaland is still a striker today. He was last season and the season before. Kai Havertz was an Arsenal striker last season as well. Like,
before,
it has.
Yeah, but I'm
By
not
the way,
saying the quality was amazing
have
last
had-
season.
Liverpool have had Darwin Núñez now for 3 years. Yeah, but the whole point of people using your argument is saying that Liverpool won the league because the league is weak. Let me tell you the difference, how I'm looking at it from outside.
Go on.
I think the league has actually come way stronger this season than last season. Let me tell you why. Last season, in the second half of the season, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Man City, in the majority of the games, we start the game watching then, and we know that Arsenal are winning the game. It would be a very surprising result if Arsenal drew a game. Man City, the same. They won 18 out of the last 19 games, Man City, last season, if I'm not mistaken. Arsenal won 16. That tells me that the league quality is so weak that I'm watching the game knowing the result before the game even started. That is last season. While the difference between this season and last season is that if you look at Liverpool games this season, even though they are on 70 points at the current moment, the majority of the games that you watch for Liverpool, it's not a full-on conclusion until like minute 70. Even the Brentford game, Liverpool won many games in the 90-plus minutes this season. They won with 1+ goal margin this season a lot of times against a lot of teams in the mid-table. But the difference is, Arsenal this season, the reason why you didn't win the league is because you didn't have these moments that Liverpool had for the whole of the season. The Salah moments where Liverpool won 2-1. When at the 90-plus minute, Liverpool win the game and 3 points. And these 3 points accumulated to now that there is 12 points between you and them. However, let me tell you, Brighton played Man City the other day. Even though you say that Man City are crap, but I'm going to say actually Brighton have improved massively under this manager. Brentford have improved. You play Fulham away, it's not a full-on conclusion. Last season, everybody would say Fulham away for Arsenal and Man City.
And that's why last season...
You're missing my point. The reason that it's difficult now is because our levels come down and theirs is raised. So do you think that Nottingham Forest, Brighton, and let's say Bournemouth are now at the level of Arsenal and City, and next season they're going to get right close, or if Arsenal and City just got worse?
Yeah, but that's not the point. Because 2 years ago,
hold on, Husam. I can
last
answer this.
Season, forget last season, because last season.
I'm going to tell you the difference then. I actually think the main thing about this league is that the mid-table coaching has improved massively over the last 10 years in the Premier League, and teams have had way more money to start having. With all due respect, Newcastle have Isak, right? You can look at Wissa and Mbeumo. The coaching have made them a 50+ million pound players over the last 2 years. at Brentford. Look at Bournemouth with the players they have. If you look at the Bournemouth squad at the current moment, right, you're not going to look at them and say they are amazing. No, but the guy is doing a fantastic job, Iraola, of making this team very competitive. Iraola, making this team very
with those
competitive.
managers. I think they've been amazing.
But here is the difference. In the last 10 years, the mid-table teams were so average. We're so average in coaching and in acquiring players that we used to see championship players go up and down between mid-table and championship. Nowadays, mid-table players are way, way better than championship level players.
And they're showing a lot more.
Let
me just say this. They're showing a lot more cojones as well when coming up against these managers. Meaning, for the last probably, 7-8 years, every single time a manager comes up against a Liverpool or a Manchester City or an Arsenal in the last 2 years, all they do is park the bus. The whole way of beating those teams is essentially defending. That's how Crystal Palace beat Manchester City. That's how Wolves beat Manchester City when Traore scored twice at the Etihad, by defending and playing in a low block. Now managers are no longer doing that. Brighton are going in their own style to the Etihad and getting a draw. You're looking at Bournemouth, who are beating Manchester City, the first team to beat Manchester City, I think, in the Premier League this season, and start this whole losing drought. And even you look at, like, you know, back when Arsenal were 8 points ahead of the league, I can say Liverpool were crap, and Chelsea finished 12th. Brighton finished 6th that season. Newcastle, we were just talking about, got European football for the first time ever when Arsenal were 8 points ahead with 5 games to go. And you look at you know, the league title.
I agree. I still don't think the league was great then. That's what I'm saying. I think it's not just been this season. I think it's got incrementally worse, in my opinion.
Yeah, but if you're talking about, like,
do you know what
I want to add one piece of information to Dan before he goes on. When is the last time you see mid-table teams and lower half of the table teams go to La Liga, Serie A, and Bundesliga and get players from the Fiorentinas, get players from the Real Sociedad? That hasn't happened. That's because of the money, Dan. So basically, you are getting the better players in these leagues because you don't have the money to mid-table teams in England. So the level in England, if you want to say football in general in the world, Dan, has gone down from
yes, I agree with that.
I think it has.
We will definitely agree with this, and it's Pep Guardiola's fault, and we move on from this, right?
Well, that was actually going to be the point I raised. I'm not blaming Pep directly. I get a feeling, though, that you maybe don't have as many, I don't want to use the word rogues, but sort of standout players that we just look at as game changers. I almost feel like players now from the age of 5 or 6 are being turned into more robotic football players. You play this way, in this shape, you play in this square, you don't leave this, we work on that. It's very, you know, you see it in sports, and you see an improvement for a period, then you might go through an age where you go, oh, it's a little bit robotic. And I think we're going through that now. There are less, as you had like Jack Grealish as an example. We all loved him at Villa because he was a bit of a throwback. There was a system and they played a certain way, but it was just go do your thing, Jack. Go out there and be yourself. He's joined Man City, and it's no, this is the role you play. These are the 2 to 3 squares on the pitch that you have to remain in no matter what. You track back here at all times. When we're out of possession, you go to this point. When we're in possession, you've got to stand out wide, or you've got to come into this little sector. You know, you've got to be in 92.092 degrees outside the edge of the box on the left-hand side so that the overlap's possible and the underlap and the flip-flap and the jack-flap can do their thing. And I do feel that has played a part. But what that has also done is now that a lot of the lesser teams in England have got managers that also can coach like that, it's become more like chess. And and I think football has become a bit more like chess as opposed to what it was 20 years ago. And then it becomes a stylistic what's better. I preferred football. I still love football. I'm not saying it's terrible. I don't go down that road, but I did. And we all spoke about this in the Champions League last year, didn't we? In the semi-finals, gents, when we were saying, look at that. There was 2 or 3 teams playing where it was just a little bit more old school. And I like that about the remaining teams in the Champions League.
It's more competitive now, Terry, but it's not better than it used to be.
No, I understand
it's
that.
Definitely not better. Vinny Jr. is the best player in Brazil. Vinny Jr. would not be on the bench just 15, 20 years ago for Brazil in 2006.
I think what Dan is saying is true in terms of world football. I do think quality in the world in general of footballers is less now. And that's not nostalgia, that's reality. I do think, like, you know,
come on,
like
man. Zidane, R9, Ronaldinho, Messi, Ronaldo. Now we've got Vinny Jr. and we're drying up already. Like, what's happening, man? Come on.
But Premier League wise, I do think
But
there's
that's not
I'll be
Liverpool's
honest.
fault. That's not the Premier League's
No,
fault.
but now we're talking about something different, though, Mo. Now we're talking about world football. I do believe both. I think the world of football has definitely talent pools dropped, and I actually believe the Premier League is worse than it was back in the 90s and 2000s. No, it's not because Arsenal were winning everything then. I just think there was better quality. If I was to pick out Premier League all-time 11s, there's a few of them that I get now. You can throw in De Bruyne, you can throw in Salah, you can throw in probably Alisson, maybe Kyle Walker in his day. But now you're not going to tell me that like the Giggses and the Beckhams and the Bergkamps and the Henrys and the Gerrards and Lampards and Scholes and all this of this world were not better than what we got now. I can't even think of a Lampard, Gerrard, and Scholes equivalent now in the Premier League.
Yeah, but you started your argument with saying that this season is weaker than the seasons before.
No. I do. I think it is. I think it is getting weaker and weaker, and I think the lack of quality now is clear to see. Listen, that doesn't take away from the fact that I think what people are doing here is they're going, "Oh my God, I can't say let this crap because now it looks like Liverpool are rubbish. Liverpool are going to get potentially 90+ points. Unbelievable season. Forget Liverpool. Look at the other 19 teams and tell me that they're good. They're not good. They're not. I don't look at the 19 teams and go, wow, Danny Welbeck is still balling out at 34 years old. Danny Welbeck is scoring goals. That is not good quality.
That's down to Hurt Sellers management. So you're tell me that the other teams are good. Okay, I will tell you. Forest are good. I'll tell you that Chelsea currently, as things stand, they're in 4th place, so they're where they're expected to be. Newcastle are good. Brighton are good. Fulham are good. Villa are good. Like all these clubs, they are good. Yes. Like I'm not going to sit up here and change my opinion now. Like I do think that they are good. I do think that they are amazing, and what you're saying, Dan, is exactly what the top gunners say to defend Arteta, and you know this because it's like, this season. I know you're not, but it's the same thing that they say because at the end of the day, look, 15 years ago, Crystal Palace had Andy Johnson. They have Jean-Philippe Mateta now. Unless you're going to act like this nostalgic basis and we're all going to act like Andy Johnson's this fantastic striker when he's not, because we watched him with our own eyes. You get me? It's similar things. Now, in the current league, the reason why the Premier League is so enjoyable to watch and the reason why the Premier League is so competitive and it's amazing and it's the best it's ever been for a while is because anyone can beat anyone. And as things stand, right?
Sam. That's more competitive.
Okay, but how can it be competitive and shit at the same time? That doesn't make sense.
Because they're worst level. All of them are worst level. So it's competitive. So Brighton versus Forest.
So who's all of them? 8 teams are all worst level.
On a point though, Husam, it theoretically can be because if you look at UK heavyweight boxing, I'd say in the last 10 years it's been quite good. Very.
It's already a straw man argument. Boxing.
No. It isn't. If you let me finish you haven't even heard the example I'm going to give. It's been the standard has been high with Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, even though they haven't fought yet. You've had Derek Chisora and Dylan White. And the reason why I say that is if you go back a decade or so before these guys came through, we had heavyweight boxers like Matt Skelton. We had Danny Williams. There's one other, was Audley Harrison as an example. Now, they were very competitive when they fought each other, highly competitive. But their standard was so low, but because they were all of a lower standard, it was still very competitive to watch. They all there was a period of about 4 or 5 years where all those heavyweights kind of beat each other. Okay, well, Audley Harrison just beat Sprog. Sprog beat Danny Williams. It's now Danny Williams versus Audley Harrison. We couldn't tell who was going to win. But it wasn't their competitiveness was very good because the standard was all similar. It was lower. The generation we're now in, there's a great competitiveness, but the overarching flaw on quality of those heavyweight boxing has improved in that time. So I do think, to your point, okay, why it's not a straw man argument, is things theoretically can become more competitive even with the standard lowering if everybody's standards are lowering at the same time. What you wouldn't get,
I tell you why it's a straw man?
If the quality was getting better overall, and the big teams maintain that distance, you wouldn't have that competitiveness still. It would be the same as it was 20 years ago. So the debate is more around, have they got better and the bigger teams got worse? Is the overarching standard just got worse overall? But yes, two things can be right at the same time.
Yeah, but the reason why your argument is a straw man is boxing is not football, okay? Right now, as things stand, Premier League... Okay, let me tell you, Premier League, as things stand right now, is the most marketed league in the whole planet. So the whole world is watching anyway. And on top of that, what goes into winning a Premier League game is 11 people all singing off the same hymn sheet, not one guy punching another guy in the face. It's 11 people all playing at some form of level. And the reason why the league is so competitive and amazing at the same time is because these clubs, these mid-table clubs that 20 years ago were all shit, because I watched it with my very own eyes, all these mid-table clubs, as things stand right now, Nottingham Forest in 3rd place and Bournemouth in 10th place are separated by 10 points. That competitiveness, by definition, means that the league is good. And I'll tell you something in terms of quality. Dan Potts, would you take Matheus Cunha on your team?
Yeah, probably, because Arsenal ain't great right
Wolves
now.
are 17th. That's quality right there.
Yeah,
I would take Matheus Cunha, who starts for Liverpool.
But
I take Ait Nouri.
We could do that back in the day as well.
We could do it because Ravanelli was part of the Middlesbrough team that got relegated. And no, literally proves the opposite. There was teams that got relegated in the 90s that had players that were considered world class or top class in them then. You know,
Kevin Phillips got 31 goals.
That's my point.
Yeah, so it's
so the team in 17th. I'm taking.
I don't think it's a strawman argument. I think it's absolutely a great example.
Absolutely,
because I genuinely, because the boxing thing is very is spot on. Because I think if two boxers, they can be very competitive, but both of them are just way worse than the people that played 10 years ago, and both of them can be beaten in the first round by the men that played 10 years ago. That's exactly what it is.
I'll give you a great example in the UFC. So you'll get fighters like Justin Gaethje and Poirier fight each other. One may KO the other, but it's a very competitive, and they're both by the way, very, very elite. It's a very competitive fight until one catches the other and knocks them out. You put both of them in with Khabib, easy for Khabib. It looks uncompetitive because Khabib is so superior. But when they fight each other, they look even better because the overarching standard in that cage on that night is lower, even though they're still elite. So it's why these conversations are important to have, but competitiveness doesn't equal better. By and large, it doesn't. You know, competitive doesn't always mean the two teams or two fighters or two players are better than what's come before. It's about having, I think one of the things that doesn't help, and I would be intrigued to see, it won't play out, but I actually don't, if we pick Brighton, Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth, I don't think they keep these squads beyond the couple of, I don't think Matoma was at Brighton 20 years ago this long. I'll tell you what Chelsea would have done 20 years ago. They'd have just gone, there's 30 million to have him. Let's see if it works or not. But at the very least...
You're saying that version of the league is better than this version.
I'm just saying any version. I'm giving you an example of what would have happened. So this helps your argument, by the way. I also think the money differential between the top clubs and the medium clubs and the smaller clubs 20 years ago was so vast that it was hard. That teams couldn't afford to turn down 20, 30 million pounds. Now they can because they're earning 150 million a year in TV money. So what you do get now, whether the quality is lower or not, what makes it more competitive now is teams can hold on to their players for a lot longer. I think that's a fair argument. Doesn't mean I'm right. It's just a fair argument. We are going to run out of time. We don't move on from this, by the way. I want to jump into these
just quickly as well. Andy Johnson got 21 goals and Mateta's got 12. But we'll move on.
Can I just have one evidence that's very quick,
don't be disingenuous,
guys?
son.
That the fact that the league got stronger now, which was I side with Husam, is that all the time now the teams that go up from Championship, they go down right away. That means they cannot compete in the Premier League. That means the level of Premier League have went up competitively.
That's not also true. I actually looked at that in the last decade. Yeah, I looked at that. There have been a few years where everyone who's gone up's gone down, but there's quite a few players like Bournemouth, like Brighton, as an example, like Nottingham. I mean, Nottingham Forest are third. They only got promoted 2 years ago. It's not strictly true.
But over the last 3 years, the two of the teams that went up went down. Am I wrong to say?
You are right that quite a lot have gone down, but for us to know, I haven't done the research. What happened in the last 15, 20 years before that? How many? We have to see whether promoted teams now are getting relegated more regularly than teams that got promoted in the 90s and the noughties.
It's happened exactly 2 years in a row. 2 years in a row.
That's fine. But we only know whether that's abnormal if we do the research into the years prior to that. I haven't done the research. I can't say you're right or you're wrong. But at the same time, the teams have just been praising Bournemouth, Brighton, Forest. They're relatively newly promoted, and they're here. They're doing well. But like
Guys,
I say,
the year Arsenal almost won the league 3 years ago, it was a shit league because Liverpool finished 6th and Chelsea finished 12th. That's the logic you guys employ.
what I do
I'm gonna
agree with
employ
though, it's all
the
shit
shit
compared.
league.
It's all shit compared to when Fergie was winning it. I totally agree.
No, I actually
Um,
agree. I actually agree.
What were the points total during the 90s when teams were relegated compared to the last 5 seasons? Well, 40 points, give and take, used to see you survive. But it's so hard to look at points totals from 30 years ago because one benches in the 90s had 3 players on it and you could only make 3 subs. You compare that to now where you've got 7 players to choose from and can make 5 subs. That's why the points total argument isn't the ultimate barometer. And what Dan's saying isn't that teams get more points now, therefore the quality shit. He's saying the individual football players were better then than they are now, is essentially the argument, which I don't think it always equates to.
Yeah, but that's Pep's fault, not the league itself.
We have to really, by the way, we have to admit this. It is Pep Guardiola's fault. As brilliant as he is, it is Pep Guardiola's fault.
Oh,
By the
Sam
way,
loves. Mo loves this.
I
Man.
am not dropping this. It's not only me. I have casuals, my Egyptian friends. I haven't seen the guys in years, by the way, right? I sat with them and they said, you were right 8 years ago when you told us in 2015 that Pep will ruin football because now we're watching, they're Real Madrid people, and they're saying we're watching Mbappe and Vinny Jr. and we think these are the two of the best players in the world. And the quick, we admit that the fast way, I don't know how you say this.
Explain why, though, Mo. Please explain why.
I'm not going to take the time of the show because we need to speak about other things.
In 30 seconds, then explain it.
Okay, Pep Guardiola is a genius that actually made people believe that passing the ball around, right, and having a system wins you the league, which is true, that made everyone drop the individual talent and the difference makers and think that I need 11 players that just do exactly what I say and I will win the league. And that is why the talent have dropped massively everywhere in the world because everyone is picking players that will follow instructions, that will not think outside the box, like the Ronaldinhos, the R9s, the Zidans, Figos, Giggs, and even Wayne Rooney. By the way, Cristiano Ronaldo. That is what happened.
Viewers, let us know what you think. Let us know what you feel about that. We've got some super chats here before we touch on Chelsea for a moment. Dan is a prime example of a nostalgia bias.
Nothing wrong with nostalgia, man. Nothing wrong with it.
I don't think you're being a bit nostalgic, just a bit.
I love it, man. I love it.
The panel is fighting for their own narrative. 2 things can be true at the same time. Mid-table sides have improved, and City and Arsenal performances have indeed dropped compared to last season.
Derek Flowers always said something. Be careful with the stuff that you say because you never know what's going to happen in the future. So 2 years from now, if Manchester City fall off again and Liverpool and Chelsea are crap, I'm just going to tell the whole Arsenal fan base that your league title is shit if it happens. This is the thing that we just
No. Whoa. Hang on a minute. I never said Liverpool's league title is shit this season.
No,
I never said that.
I'm telling to Aditya, not you. Yeah, I know you aren't. I know. Because Dan Post is just being nostalgic because he's from that era. You know, like back in my day, we had all these amazing players. We did. Yeah, but Pep Guardiola wasn't there. You know, there was individual brilliance.
I'm always careful with these narratives because, as you say, I want to protect Fergie's legacy as best I can. At the same time, if Man United in 18 months grow and we're winning the league title, and all I've done it for the last 5 years is say this era of football is the worst it's ever been, it does diminish what you're about to win. So I totally agree. Mo is 100% right regarding Pep, is what AMT says. Ray here says, I agree with Judge Mo. The coaching of mid-table clubs and players has got better. That I agree with. So Mo,
Harry, can I just say one thing very quickly? Just very quickly. I'm not even going to argue or anything. I just went to the 14-15 league table from 10 years ago. Okay? So this is I'm just going to read them in order. Chelsea, City, Arsenal, Man United. Now, 5th to 10th. Spurs, Liverpool, Southampton, Swansea, Stoke, and Crystal Palace. That made up the top 10. The year that Leicester won it, the top 10 was 5 to 10. Man United, Southampton, West Ham, Liverpool, Stoke City, and Chelsea. Imagine, like that's what we're looking at from 10 years ago, which is why I'm looking at the league this season And the difference between third
As
and
more
10th, I'm like,
competitive.
damn,
I agree.
this is amazing.
As more competitive. I agree. We
Yeah,
all
but
agree
you
it's more
can't. But you're
competitive.
talking about
I
amazing.
also, again,
Can you
it's-
name me an amazing Southampton player, Watford player, Swansea player, West
From when?
Brom, Crystal
What,
Palace?
now or back then?
No, back then Sunderland were 17th, 18th, Newcastle.
Southampton
Like,
have. So you should know. You've nicked half of the Southampton bloody players. Your club.
Didn't they have Van Dijk then?
no,
Hey!
15, 16.
Sadio
think they
Mane,
didn't.
he's quite good. I
He
say
might not
Sadio
be. I don't
Mane
know
is
when he
quite
went there. I
good.
don't know when he went there.
Yeah, I don't even know when he went there, 15, 16.
Let's
But
just-
point is, you even look at the league like 10
Let's
years
check
ago. And
we
it's
need
the
to
same
check
thing
when
with
Van Dijk was at Southampton. I hope he weren't there in the 14-15 season, mate.
2017.
Swansea had like Wayne Routledge, remember?
No, he wasn't. No, he joined in the he joined in the summer of 2015. You got lucky there, bro. You got lucky
Yeah,
there, bro.
come on. Come on.
I think Swansea have won a trophy before Spurs, haven't they?
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's
Remember what they
there.
said about
That's
Ainge last
That's
season,
very true.
man? Remember?
Yeah, guys, I want to just get through these super chats. We've got some other topics before the end of the show, so let me just get through these. Sorry, guys. So Mo, you are saying both City and Arsenal are playing at the same level as last season. It is because mid-table teams have improved; they drop points, but performances are still similar.
No, I think yes, they have been playing worse, but also it helped that the other teams are playing way better.
Yeah.
So it goes both ways.
Who is Newcastle's most important player for me? It's Tonali. I think Tonali is up there. There's no doubt. I think Bruno Guimaraes is the embodiment of what you do. That you can't ignore the goals from Isak. I don't think you've got one player that again when you've got one very good team. If you've got a really good team and everyone just focuses on one person being the most important, it's maybe not a very good team. When you're suddenly going, right, it could be 3 or 4 or 5 players, that's when you got a team that could become
Why
special.
are you taking shots at Liverpool, bro? Why are you taking shots at Liverpool?
didn't mention
Because
Liverpool.
Salah. Because Salah, you're taking shots at Liverpool because they won the league because of Salah being
No, because
player.
we're moving on. The bald fraud absolutely ruined the football world. Winning the EFL Cup and calling it the treble is like West Ham calling themselves champions of Europe after winning the Conference League. It sounds great, but we all know European championships were cities.
I didn't call it the newspapers in 84, did.
No, they said A. As a neutral, I see Gerrard as Liverpool's best Premier League player ever. He was far more fun to watch and single-handedly won them. We didn't single-handedly win them a Champions League because if Dudek doesn't make those saves when it was 3-3, they lose. So I'll be honest with you, Nima. I really hate this narrative. You know, people say, "Oh, Van Persie won Man United the league because he scored more goals this following season." We scored less goals in the season where Van Persie joined than the season before. It's just false narratives created by the Sun newspaper. They stop listening to that bullshit. Anyone that pushes net spend, disregard their football opinions. It ain't real. Fuck them. Till we have Super Mick, Husam, I doubt you would get a chance to say that.
Dan fell into a trap. Dan is saying it purely based off nostalgia and the fact that he loved football 20 years ago, which I understand. The problem is the top gunners don't say it for the same reason. They say it to undermine Liverpool's league title.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Hi, Sam. Sorry about getting your name wrong in the last video.
Hey.
Oh, by the way, I actually called Hamza Husam again at the weekend. I apologize for that as well.
That's fine, KJ. That's fine.
Yeah, similar opinions. That's the problem. Question: as your club hasn't bought anyone this season, do you trust your owners to land Isak, especially now that you are winning the league?
Pavan, Habibi, do you know who Don Husam is, my brother? I want you to open new tab right now and search FSG out plane protest, and you will see. You get me? We flew a whole plane above Anfield, my brother, FSG out on it. You really think I trust this ownership? No, I don't. I don't trust this ownership. I'm enjoying the last dance right now until we see what happens in the summer.
And
also, Isak will be like 3/4 of our transfer budget. I'm gonna be so honest with you. That's just
There we go. Look, Arsenal yesterday got one over on Chelsea. It wasn't the greatest game of all time, as most of us have alluded to. But Chelsea looked flat. They didn't even look like they wanted to win at the end. I thought they'd go hell for leather last 10, 15 minutes to try and nick a goal, and they didn't. Crazy stat to show you. If you look at the last 11 games in the Premier League, Chelsea sit 14th in the form table below Man United. But they've only beaten the 4 teams you can see highlighted in yellow, and they're all below them in that form table. They do currently sit 4th, but with 9 games to go, Is Chelsea's season going to implode? What do we think?
I hope so. I hope so. I mean, this is a Chelsea squad that's better than Liverpool and Arsenal's, according to Don. So he obviously must be Maresca out, because how he's doing this with a squad that's better than Liverpool and Arsenal's is beyond me. They are absolutely horrendous. Where has £1.5 billion gone? That right there is how not to spend 1 billion. That right there is how not to run a football club. And I've been saying this on Straight Facts for most of this season and last season. So has LB. And the Chelsea fans hate me. They think I'm just a hater. Look, trust me, you're right. I can't stand Chelsea. I hate them with a passion, right? But I'm right in what I'm saying. It is an absolute waste. The recruitment has been shambolic. How you can still have that goalkeeper in goal is beyond me after spending 1.5 billion. And then you look at the striker and you think, so it's Pedro Neto, because the two that should be there are injured. And then you look at the two that are injured and it's Nicholas Jackson and Mark Gui, right? So it's not like they have gone from Drogba to Nicholas Jackson, and they've gone from John Terry to Levi Colwell, and they've gone from Frank Lampard to Enzo Fernandez. This is not how you run it. Sancho, I mean, Terry, you must be laughing because everyone was laughing at you to start with. Now it's just like, this guy just ain't very good, if I'm honest with you. So look, I'm not going to sit there and say that they don't have good players, because Caicedo's a good player. Palmer's a good player. I do rate Lavia, although the injuries are a little bit frustrating. I think Reece James, when fit, is fantastic. And I think Gusto's got potential. But I look there and I'm starting to struggle now. They've got no goalkeeper. They've got no centre-back partnership. They haven't really got any width that I look at and think, wow. And up top is a joke. Now, Arsenal, we all know where the problems are. But Chelsea have got a massive amount of holes. And yesterday I was looking at us thinking, oh, here we go. Arsenal playing crap again. And I'm thinking, thank God we're playing them, because they are not very good at all. Like, I was looking and thinking Arsenal are actually okay in goal. They're pretty good at the back. They've got a department in midfield at least. And then, of course, we know what happens in the final third with the injuries to Saka and Havertz. Ain't really much there, right? My God, Chelsea have got every department problems. They are so bad. And this Maresca, by the way, is getting away with it, if I'm honest, because everyone was saying that Poch was a massive issue. And let's be real, there isn't much of a difference this season when you look at the league table. This guy obviously got them to the final of the League Cup, finished them into the Champions League, into the Europa League, started to get, because everyone thinks they're in the Conference League. Well, there's no reason why they went into it wasn't because they finished sixth, didn't they? So obviously now they're in the Conference League, right? It was because of them, exactly, right? So I look at it and I think they have got some problems, man. And a lot of the fans don't want to hear it because they believe that they've got the money and this Egbali and Bowley are going to take them to the top and all this kind of stuff. They've shown me they have no idea how to run a football club. To have that much money, real talk. Do you know how much this is, by the way? This is like saying, right, this Chelsea side, how much we got? We got over £1 billion. Cool. So that gives me £100 million per position. So I can go and buy £100 million on a goalkeeper, 2 fullbacks, 2 centre-backs, 1 midfield, and up top. And trust me, they have managed to get that team together. It is an absolute sackable criminal offence what they've done at Chelsea. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it. It's funny.
I think Chelsea won't get top 4 now. I'm convinced. I think Chelsea will fall off. I'm going to be so honest with you.
I want to show, before you go, Husam, I want to show you this. This is just shared by Simon Phillips. He says part of the snooze fest can be traced back to injuries to Nicholas Jackson, Madueke, and Cole Palmer. He also goes on to say, but Palmer has not scored for 10 games before his injury. Jackson was without a goal in 8 before his injury, and Madueke had netted twice in those 12 matches. There's a sort of narrative from Chelsea fans that once the injured players are back, Chez said it last night on the show, he's not worried because they're still fourth. He's not worried about the form. He's not worried about the trajectory because the players are returning. And look, they could make the top 4. I'm not denying it. But if you look at their current form, they've got 2 games left against teams below them in the current form table, in Spurs and Ipswich. But every other game they play is against teams above them. And in their last 11 matches, actually their last 13 matches, every team above them in the form table has beaten them or they've drawn with them. And I just don't, if those players return and they don't get back to what they were doing prior to Christmas, I mean, it's a mathematical impossibility they make the top 4 or top 5 because The maths don't lie. The form doesn't lie. The lack of winning mentality doesn't lie. I don't understand where there are lots of Chelsea fans, and I will say this, rightfully calling out Maresca, calling out these players, calling out the club for how poor they are. But there is still this percentage of Sam who are fervently behind Clear Lake, fervently behind Maresca, and still believe they've got one of the best squads in the league and they're going to turn this around. You seemingly disagree with those Chelsea fans, Husam.
Chelsea are not making top 4. Chelsea are not making top 4. There is a moment yesterday that epitomizes Chelsea Football Club. Timber looks at Maresca straight in the face and says, try harder. And then Maresca shakes his hand like the good boy. Good boy, Maresca. Good boy. Good boy. Because he's a yes man. And he has no personality and he's a robot because he worked under the robotic manager, that's Pep Guardiola. Good boy, Enzo. You let a Arsenal player who's one of the rivals tell you to your face, try harder, and you shook his hand like a bitch. Why did you shake his hand? If you did not push him or shove him or get sent off that very second, you prove that you have no charisma, no personality, and no character. Guys, we witnessed something yesterday that was so pathetic from Chelsea Football Club. Chelsea players were sweating. Their jerseys changed colors. Arsenal were in first gear and they were crap and they won. Next time someone tells me Chelsea are better than Arsenal or have a similar squad or better team, I'm just going to laugh straight in their face. And it's funny, you know, we've mentioned 2 great Chelsea fans. Dan has mentioned Don. Terry's mentioned Ches. Fantastic. You get me? The 2 delusional brothers when it comes to Chelsea Football Club. It's just 2 hideous twins were annoying. You know, that's the Chelsea fans right there that I'm looking at. Arsenal were actually, you want to know what's so pathetic about that game? Arsenal were actually in first gear. Arsenal were mid. A mid Arsenal beat you 1-0 without sweating. And when people talk about Nicholas Jackson, okay, so Nicholas Jackson went 10 games without a goal. Cole Palmer has been ghosting essentially for this last 3 months. And it's not the same energy about Salah because Cole Palmer has been crap in the small game and the big game for the last 3 months. He even the penalty he missed now. Like, oh, Mr. Penalty, even the penalty he misses now. So even with these players, like, okay, if I put Cole Palmer in the Chelsea team yesterday, do I think they beat Arsenal? No, I don't. Do I think they get a draw? No, I don't. Because the performance was so pathetic. After spending 1 billion, your 2 most dangerous chances came through your left back. Cucurella had the 2 most dangerous chances. He's the left back. And all these people who always bring up aesthetics and shit like Pedro Neto is amazing. No, he's not. Jadon Sancho's amazing. No, he's not. He's shit. Every single Chelsea winger is shit. I wouldn't take a 1 winger from Chelsea. They're all crap. I honestly, genuinely mean it. I'm looking at this Chelsea Football Club. But guess what, guys? The problems have been solved. Because guess who they have signed? 15-year-old Quenda. Let's go. We are going to create the best under-18s team ever in history. Like whichever Chelsea under-18s team competes in whichever competition, going to win the quadruple of that. Like they're going to win the Youth Champions League and the Youth Cup and the Youth League and everything, you know. Quenda, Estevao, random Ihuogo, some guy. Amazing. Chelsea Football Club, the future is bright. The problem is they're all 17. So the future is only going to be bright 8 years from now. So good luck, mate. Big up, though.
Yeah, you know that what changed yesterday? I watched the Caicedo interview and I watched other people talk about that, and they all say the same thing. It's very close. We actually were better than Arsenal. And the mentality, bro, you just lost 1-0 to an Arsenal team that looks mediocre on the pitch, and you just lost 1-0. And you're coming after the game and say you're better than them. So why didn't you win then? I think the mentality at Chelsea have completely like changed.
Yep.
The way the manager speak, like in the beginning of the season, he was saying all the right things. Now he's saying sometimes good, sometimes bad. You know, like sometimes we'll make Champions League, and the next year sometimes we'll not make Champions League. And I think the mentality of the whole football club is actually a reflection of what the ownership wants to do. When Fabrizio Romano is doing that, here we go, and all that Chelsea, the guy, yes, we signed the guy over Man United. And I like, for me, I never heard of this guy before in my life. I've never heard his name. And I had to Google the guy, and apparently he played for Ruben Amorim in Sporting Lisbon. I saw Mark doing a video and people like bringing up videos that we're gonna sign these players, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think Man United are. That 17 years old is not gonna change the fortune of your club. So the here we go is meaningless, basically. The whole football club now at the current moment, I thought you were going the right direction with the signings of Neto and all this stuff. I still think they make top 4 because how bad the people around them are, to be honest.
Standards lower,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think Man City.
What Chelsea fans are
City.
doing is they've basically turned into what they were bantering us for. That's what Chelsea are now turned into.
Exactly.
They've turned into Arsenal, and they need a process, and they need more time, and they need to spend more money, and they need to get this manager in who's going to be like Pep, and they need to do this, that, and the third. And all of a sudden, it's like, we're looking in the mirror at what we were laughing at Arsenal. We were winning a Champions League and laughing at Arsenal's process. And now we've gone 4 years without a trophy. Arsenal have gone 5 years without a trophy. And we're trying to copy what we bantered them for, which hasn't worked for 5 years. That's basically what Chelsea fans are now doing. And I'm here for it, man. I hope they're enjoying it.
Maybe you're wrong and it worked. It worked in the eyes of the other people and it worked. Arsenal are actually a successful football club and Chelsea want to be the same as Arsenal. They want to build a team that is people to hashtag pray for Madrid. And that's what they want. They want that, bro.
Do you know what's really interesting? There's obviously there are different types of Chelsea fans. The ones who have been calling this out for a long time, Clear Lake, the ownership, the sporting directors, the direction, hated the signing of Maresca, don't like the squad build. I'm not really talking to those Chelsea fans because they don't like hearing rivals criticize their club, and I understand why. It hurts everyone when rivals criticize your club to a certain degree, but by and large, they agree with what you're saying. They just don't kind of stand with you. The Chelsea fans I'm most interested in, irrespective of my opinion, are the fans like Don. And Don had the opportunity to come on and speak on Straight Facts this week and other shows. But the reason I say that is because he has created a very sort of circular way of speaking about Chelsea. The squad is brilliant. Top 2, top 3 in the league. It's amazing. It's better than everybody else's. But if it doesn't succeed, the reaction is because the manager's not getting the best out of them. And it could be absolutely right. But by and large, Don has criticised things that his ownership have done. And I'm using Don as an example because there are many a Chelsea fan like him. But they back their ownership and the plan and the project. But let's just say they're right. And it is again Maresca that's messing up this brilliant squad that their brilliant owners have picked. How many times do you trust? And I use this example because I called it out of my club, Man United. I got to a point where I didn't even want to sack any more managers under when Ed Woodward was making that decision because he'd already fouled 3 or 4 times. And I'm sitting there going, okay, I get your point that manager A isn't great and the squad's quite good. But why are we trusting the people running the club to get it right? Because it would be, the 5th or 6th appointment if Maresca was to go as an example.
Yes.
And then it's a new voice. And then it's new training message. 7th. Whatever. They had Tuchel when they first came in for a bit. So it was Tuchel, Potter. Are we going to look? Lampard was an interim. Who?
The bald guy, Andrew Tate lookalike.
Bruno.
Yeah, but they were interims. They weren't managers. Is what I'm saying.
I'm counting interims. I don't care.
Yeah,
because it suits my agenda. I'm counting
I know it. Okay, so Tuchel and Potter, the interim, Lampard as an interim. Then they went to Poch. So like 7 different managers. But what is true about that is it's 7 different voices. And this isn't an experienced core group. So they don't have that Czech, Terry, Lampard, Sen, Drogba spine. It is nowhere near that level. Consistent new voices as they're trying to develop a team. And they're trying to create a side that can become consistent. But the consistent chopping and changing of coaching, voices. I'm not saying the direction has changed. But there comes a point where, again, show me the case and point where that has worked. And I know people don't like that because I heard a lot of people yesterday saying, well, what phase are Newcastle in? Well, they got taken over 3.5 years ago. I don't know what phase they would name themselves in, but it wasn't like they haven't built to this point. They spent money. They brought in a coach. They've stuck with their coach because, again, you can't compare Newcastle from day one of the Saudi ownership to Real Madrid, who already have the core and the spine and the structure and the team. They had to start, they're a relegation side, and they've had to build to this point, right? But what they had to do, Newcastle, is through those moments of turmoil where it looked crap, where their fans were shouting at their players on the pitch, behind the scenes, they knew what they were doing and they stuck with a plan. And now you've seen they may get Champions League football again. They've just won a trophy for the first time domestically in 70 odd years. And I'm not saying that you should never sack a manager, but you have to look specifically at the context of each club. We can't just treat every team like a monolith and go, just sack managers, it works, or never sack a manager. It's not the right way to go.
Well, what happens if they don't make top 4, though?
I understand your
point.
point.
He should be sacked.
And there is an argument that he should be sacked. At the same time, they're signing 2 or 3 more youngsters. We don't know if they're going to sign more experience in the summer. And you're talking about a young group. You're then giving them an 8th manager and an 8th voice in 3 years. My point is,
this is why they don't know what they're doing, Terry. If they would have gone and appointed Marco Nepp and Hansi Flick, they would have gone and won stuff by now with 1.5 billion.
Which is what I hear you.
I
don't know if they would because of the squad that they've put together. The point is,
they wouldn't have put that squad together, Terry. That's what I'm saying. They wouldn't.
Yeah, they actually wouldn't if they had a better sporting director.
I hear you. Exactly. Right, but that is revisionism to the point of we are where we are, right? So the point is, I get if they don't make top 4. If for some reason they don't win that Conference League, I understand the validity in sacking Maresca. But at the same time, I look at the age of the squad, the chopping and changing of coaching and methods and training and voices. They're adding more kids to it. I don't know if that's the best way to fix them. Now, you are right. They go and get a better manager and a better coach. It might work. It may. But they're going to their 8th manager in 3 years.
Yeah, but hold on.
Crazy.
But I'm sorry. The fact that we're arguing if they don't make top 4, they should sack the manager, but if they make top 5 or whatever, they should stick with the manager. I think this actually proves that making top 5 or not should not be the deciding factor, because making top 5 or not for the long-term future is not like Newcastle made top 5. Okay, Aston Villa made top 5. There are other clubs that can make top 5.
But can I tell you the difference?
Hold on, let me finish this point. Because making top 5 is not winning the league, though. Chelsea should look at the manager and analyze the performance and say, yes, we think that this is long-term. It's going to get us where we want to be, which is challenge or win the league or win the Champions League. Because you might make top 5 by 2 points because Brighton lost it the last day, or Man City got a red card, but you still long-term, you look at Maresca and you look at this team and you think, that's not going to get us anywhere. That's not winning the league. Winning the league is different, right?
You're part of the problem, Mo, as well.
Why I'm part of the problem, ya akhi? Why I'm part of the problem?
Let me tell you. Can I tell the difference? The reason why Chelsea fans specifically and Chelsea Football Club specifically can't say this is they briefed the media last summer. The reason why we sacked Mauricio Pochettino is because we failed to achieve the target of top 4.
Yeah.
So now, whatever circumstances Chelsea are hit with this season, given the fact that top 5 get Champions League, not just top 4, there is no excuse whatsoever for them to not get it.
I hear what you're saying, but you're missing the point.
I agree with you. Long
making top 5 or not is not an indication.
I agree. And this is why Chelsea's situation is so precarious, because I'm not saying people that want. This is where, again, if you're a basic person, then it will just be sack or keep. For me, I'm not saying either or either is the right answer. I'm simply stating I have no idea what is best for their future. I really thought this January they'd have gone out and bought more experience. They've briefed the media in the last 24 hours saying they're going to look to buy a good striker this summer, and they may do it, and it may change their fortunes, but they've got a sell to buy. At the same time, they've just gone and committed 70 million to 2 more kids. And you just think to yourself, why don't you just spend that 70 million on Eucharist? Like, if you get where I'm coming from. So my perspective is just very much like, I feel like Chelsea fans, I think they're suffering at the minute, although they're still 4th in the league. And you may have some that will front it and go, no, we're fine. No, we're good. No, we're moving in the right direction. I don't believe they're as confident as they were making out at the beginning of the campaign or around Christmas time. I think they are genuinely worried for the first time. I'm someone that saw what I can see the logic behind what Clear Lake are trying to do. It's not my club though, but it's the reality. It's the delivery. It's I kind of got it. Buy young, spend lots of money, build a squad, bring in a coach, develop them. And as they start getting more mature, you start adding in some experience. That if someone explained that's not going to be our process, I go, well, give it a go. But they've given it a go. They're at the end of. People often say, well, I saw yesterday Caicedo say, oh, these Arsenal players have been together 7 years. But they haven't. You know, that's an exaggeration. But their project's now been in place at Chelsea for 3 seasons. And I look at my club, United, and we're 1 year into this rebuild, and it hasn't been particularly great overall so far. We're getting to the end of our 3rd season, and we're looking like they're looking right now. I'm going to be fuming. So I can only speak about them and keep the energy there. But genuinely, I don't know what the best thing for them is to do. They could go to a new manager and it work. They could change again and be back in this situation in 12 months. There comes a point where they've got to do something that moves the needle long enough. And I just feel this last 12, 13 games in the Premier League, I know they've had some injuries, but a lot of these defeats and losses, they had the majority of their first team squad available. It's really crazy for them right now. It really is.
Can I tell you what they need to do to solve the problem? Just quickly, 30 seconds. First of all, I was gaslit by Chelsea fans and footy judge Mo. I knew I should have stuck to my Poch opinion. I was right about Mauricio Pochettino. He was not the problem. In order for Chelsea to get to a level where they are like good, they need to sack the concept of what they're doing right now, which they're clearly not, because they've already signed Quenda. The whole concept of the Blue Co project, the project of signing kids and recycling and giving 8-year contracts and selling players, that will not be successful ever, by the way. So I don't need any proof, because it's never been successful ever in a football basis. So they need to sack the sporting directors. Tell Todd Bowley and Iqbali that this is not how to run a football club. Explain to them that the same money that we're spending, we need to spend on immediate players right now in the here and now, and then they can get back to winning ways. As things stand, they won't get back to winning ways.
I get you. Let's go to some of the comments that are coming through here. First one's actually not about this. It's from George, who says, Terry, what's that tweet you put up yesterday about Leicester fans booing Heaven? Yeah, absolute facts. When Heaven was laying down on the ground, first receiving treatment, the Leicester crowd were booing. I heard it. The whole world heard it. If you were watching the game, they were booing him when he was on the ground. They thought he was faking it, obviously, to save time or whatever, but they were booing him. 110%. I was watching it, and there was some applause when he came off. There was also some boos as well. I absolutely heard it. If you go back and watch the footage, Georgie, I know you're a Leicester fan, but it most certainly happened. I 110% heard it. That's why I tweeted it. Poch wasn't sacked because of not making top 4. He was sacked because he wanted control of the transfers. But Mish, you're missing the point that Sam spoke about on many other shows as well. For context, yes, that may have been the reason, but what they briefed the media was different. And the problem is, when you brief a lie, is that lie can come back to bite you in the arse later on down the line, and it causes more conflict amongst the fan base. So if you're ever going to publicly tell a lie, you have to stand on that lie almost forever, or until at least it's forgotten about from a public standpoint. You can't just, come out and say that one week and then not about another. They were booing the referee. No, they literally, you could hear it over the, come on, get on with the game, get on with the game. They were booing. They were booing when a player was down injured. Yes, the referee didn't restart the game, but it's because there was a suspected broken leg. There should be zero booing from Leicester fans at that point when there's a suspected major injury to a player, whether it's at the ref, but it's to do with a young 18-year-old who they thought may have broken his leg being treated. There should have been complete and utter respect, in my personal opinion. Chelsea have won just one of their last 26 games against Arsenal, Liverpool, City, and that's fucking mad, isn't it? That is a mad statistic.
Merino scored, you guys. Merino.
Happy St. Patrick's Day to you too as well, Patrick. I hope you have a very, very good day. Please do lunch shows, Terry. Thoughts on the lap to Chelsea? Look, the lap looks really good, but I still just think Chelsea need to, this summer, I think every player should be 25 years or older. I think they need grown.
I think that's who they'll get.
They've already failed. They've already failed.
Yeah, well, hang on, but the 2 youngsters have signed, in fairness. I know that one of them isn't coming until 2026. So it's going to be a loan next year to Sporting. But I think they might get, they probably will go and get Delap, and he might kill it. He might be amazing, and I think he'll do better than Jackson. I just think, though, when it gets to the pressured moments of a season, that experience matters. Experience is key, and you need that. You really, really do. Maybe not year 1, but next season, we're going into the 4th year of this project. You need some experience now. You've got the kids, you've got the youngsters. I think you need experience. Although I do think he's a very, very talented football player. Before we go any further, I want to give a big shout out to today's sponsors, Filmora. Take a look at this, people. I know many of you are aspiring content creators, starting your own podcasts and panel shows, and that's amazing. I get one question from you so regularly, Terry. The Football Terrace has some of the best shorts, the best reels, the best sort of clips taken out of your podcast. How do you do it? How did it look so amazing? How do you get them up and done so quickly? And there's one answer, and it's simply Filmora. Filmora is an AI-powered editing tool that allows you to take content from your long format podcasts and edit it fast and quickly into amazingly crafted pieces of short content. There's minimal effort, amazing captions, wonderful visual images that it finds, and brilliant synchronization as well. The best thing for me, because I'm not an editor, is you don't need to do any kind of manual editing. The software, the AI, it matches premium visuals, seamless transitions. It puts overlays and captions all into the right places, so you can just click, render, and post. You can pick from 10 unique AI-generated brands and tones to align best with your podcast. And it's just so much better than Premiere or CapCut. They don't do much at all when it comes to taking long format content and podcasts and turning it into short format clips. So stop spending hours and hours editing your content. Get it downloaded right now. Get it onto your desktop. Give it a go, give it a try, and let me know what you think and feel. And any feedback you've got, we'll send that into them. Now, we're working very closely with them now because they've been so impactful to us. And you can see, just look at the growth my Instagram, my TikTok have had in just the last few weeks. So click on the link in the description or scan the QR code that's on the screen now and go check out Filmora. It's a game changer. It is. If any of you want to do short format content, you've got to use this stuff. It's genuinely, I was struggling for hours trying to edit, and then I found this and it worked. And I reached out to them and said, fancy doing a bit of a sponsorship deal? And they said yes. So I was like, touch. So I get my accounts free now as well. So I'm loving it. It's great. It's really good stuff. And especially, like I was saying, I think about you, 12th man, like you're killing it at the minute. A lot of your shows are doing brilliantly, but the short format stuff, start getting that out there on Instagram, Twitter. I still call it Twitter, TikTok and that. So if anyone out there wants to use it, go and check it out. Now, speaking of problems though, in this world that need to be solved, did you all see Big Ange losing his mind? did you? I mean, for me, I liked him when he came in. I thought he was a real breath of fresh air. But the performances from Spurs have been awful. They've certainly fallen off. And it feels like almost every week now, he's getting into arguments. He's getting into fights. He's having meltdowns. It's like he can't take it. It's like he can't take the criticism. In case anyone hasn't seen it, this is a fan at the game yesterday having a conversation with Big Ange.
What was that? What was that? What was that? What was it? What was that? I'm just asking, what was it?
18-year-old, I think it was Tell, having sort of pushed their manager away. He's kicking off with fans. They lost another game, Tottenham. They're 15th in the league. What are we saying?
It's great. It's great. It's actually very good.
No. You don't get to do this. You don't get to do this.
No, it's actually very good comedy. Bro, you know the point. I think he is actually crumbling under pressure. And he's about to call the ownership. And he's about to leave in mutual agreement, and they're about to appoint someone else. But listen, I don't understand. What I don't understand, so I'm going to say this. What I don't understand, why is he upset? They have the same points as West Ham and Everton. How is Ange Postecoglou upset that the fans are calling him out? What are they expecting? This is Spurs. They used to be, they just 6 years ago, they won a Champions League final. They're now sitting 16th in the league. Is he expecting the fans to say, yeah, you play great football? Yeah, you play great football and you lose the games. If it wasn't for Ipswich being bad, you would have really been in a relegation battle. I get a good ball and good football and passing the ball around and having the freedom and entertainment, bro. And it's who we are, mate. But bro, like football at the end, you must win games. People pay the money not to go and get battered every week. And he's upset that the fans are calling him out. It's crazy, actually. And the guy didn't even tell him anything. He just told him, what was that? He just got riled up. And it's like, how dare you tell me this, bro? Like, the guy paid 60, 70 pounds to go watch a game. And you're dog shit. You're dog shit. And you're upset that people are calling you out. Yeah, bro, it's kind of weird, to be honest.
Man.
And to be honest with you guys, I actually don't understand how people still defending Ange. If I'm 16 in the league, bro, and I call myself a top 6 club.
This is Spurs.
What does that even mean? This is Spurs, Husam.
What do you mean? No, what do you mean?
They're
Huh?
the 16th in the
Same
league.
club that made you believe in ghosts last
Chris-
season.
Crystal Palace sacked Patrick Vieira because he was playing an okay football. He was losing games. Don't tell me this is Spurs. He sacked the guy because he was. By the way,
They're in the Europa League quarterfinal.
Glasner was under pressure because he was losing games with Crystal Palace in the beginning of the season. Ange must be under pressure.
No, of course he's under pressure, but he's in the quarterfinal of the Europa League, and this is Spurs' level. Mo, the only reason why
What if they win Europa League, Husam? What if they win Europa League?
No, this ain't Spurs' level. This ain't Spurs' level. This ain't Spurs' level.
We're
This is
hyping
not
up
Spurs' level.
No, listen here. You're the one that was hyping up the Spurs fans last season.
Yeah, because they were playing very well.
That's your
You're
biggest
lying.
L on YouTube. Stop it. That's your biggest L on YouTube.
Yeah, I will
in
never
history.
back Spurs again.
Yes,
I'll
good.
never do
Good.
this.
You'll never back Spurs again. That's a great.
And now this season, I'm never backing Arsenal now. That with the
never backing Arsenal. That's the other one now. The Red Spurs. Now, let me tell you something. Look, I get that Ainge is under pressure, and of course he needs to get results. I understand that. But if Spurs are to make it out, they have to back one guy and stick by him. Now, are they backing currently the correct guy? I don't know. Only time will tell. Maybe they should have backed Conte better. Maybe they should have backed whoever better. But as things stand, if Spurs do go on to win the Europa League and they finish like 17th or 16th, then it's still a season to remember for them, because winning something is not Spursy at all. And actually, that's the worst case scenario for someone in the bottom left of the screen. If Spurs win Europa, Chelsea win Conference, Liverpool win the league, Newcastle win the Carabao, and then Aston Villa win the FA Cup. Oh my God. It's like, you go there, everyone's been handed a treat, and Potsy's just sat there like, oh shit, where's my treat? I gotta get nothing.
Listen, we don't have to worry about Spurs, man. Don't worry about Spurs. Let the others have some fun, man. Let's not worry about Tottenham winning, man. Let's just have a laugh, because although they beat us in the final, Birmingham have won a cup before Spurs, yeah? Swansea have won a cup before Spurs. Wigan have won a trophy before Tottenham Hotspur have, right? So Tottenham Hotspur and winning is what they're allergic to. The togetherness is not compatible. They don't win stuff, right? We've had 5 years without it. In my whole existence of 37 years, the last time they won anything that people say is relevant, I was 4 years old, right? The FA Cup, 1991 is the last time that it was relevant to talk about Tottenham winning. Right now, I count the League Cup, but people don't say it's the worthless cup and all that. They've got 2 of them. One of them, funnily enough, was my old manager who won it for him, George Graham. The other one was One Day Ramos, who then went off and is seen as one of the worst Tottenham managers, and he's the one that actually won the trophy for them. That's how crazy it is. This is how bad the club is. Daniel Levy, I hope he stays there for a long time, because he's turned the place into a tourist attraction. They're interested in Formula One tracks, and when Beyonce is playing, and when is AJ fighting next, and when is the NFL next on? I am not interested in anything to do with that. But do you know what's funny? Is that the Tottenham that Daniel Levy has brought up, who, to be fair, has done some good things in the new stadium, got to a Champions League final, got them into a title race. I've never seen those things, by the way, in my time of supporting football. But my God, they're not interested in winning. And this season, how he is still there, oh my word. It is crazy. This is the worst version of Tottenham I've seen in a long time. And the reason that I'm so down about this season and deflated is because of what my club are doing. But actually, what's beautiful is that the 2 clubs that I hate the most, Manchester United and Tottenham, are absolutely abysmal. And there's the only kind of silver lining that can gloss over what has been quite a disappointing season so far, is that them 2 are absolutely muddied. And I look at what Manchester United are now starting to do in the last couple, and now they're even making Tottenham look even worse, which is brilliant. So Tottenham Hotspur are just so bad. It is criminal. And this manager is one of the worst that I've seen. And he has completely lost his head. He's starting on the fans. He's having to be held back by 19-year-old players of his own to stop from fighting with them. And every single interview, press conference, you can just pick one from 6 months ago and just replay it. Because he always looks down like that. He always says what it is, mate, who we are, mate. And he's just grumpy the whole time. And it's never anything but we haven't got any players. Now that the players are now coming back, the Van de Vens and the Romeros are back and they're still losing, what is more that he's got to say? I thought it was the players were out, man. I thought it was obvious why we weren't winning games because all the players were out. Now they're all back. They're still losing. Tottenham just aren't very good. They're just crap. That's what it is.
I think what's interesting for me is when you say this is sort of Tottenham's level, they have spent since he arrived at the football club over 400 million. And why I think that is significant is other clubs have spent in that time as well. So I'm not saying it's unique to Tottenham, but there's a lot of other managers that get a lot more stick and a lot more criticism. So over a 5-year period, Arteta has spent 700 million. And he's rightfully criticised because he hasn't gone and won a league yet, and he hasn't won the Champions League in the last 3 seasons where he's been competitive and been in races. But you're talking about a manager that in 2 seasons has spent 2/3 of that and has taken his team backwards in that time. Yes, he's had injuries, but so has every other member of the traditional top 6. The lack of criticism for Spurs and this is the one thing that he has done a brilliant job of, Big Ange, because he was funny in press conferences. I think he gets away with murder. Because he's kind of liked by the media, liked by the pundits, liked by the ex-pros, they're kind of pushed to the wayside. But they have spent huge amounts of money. And barring that opening 10-game start where they were phenomenal, it has been an abysmal appointment. And he is still dining out on those opening 10 games. And I think all the Spurs fans that are defending him, I think it's ridiculous. I do think it's ridiculous now. He doesn't consistently enough. And this is the most annoying thing for me with Big Ange. Yes, it's funny watching him crash out and kick off. But there's moments and there are games where he'll go, right, I'm going to sit back. I'm going to absorb pressure. I'm going to be compact and we're going to attack and win. Did it brilliantly to City this season as a case in point. But then he won't replicate that again for like 10 games. And I just think to myself, it's not that you lack the ability to adapt. You've done it. It's that you choose not to. It is a conscious decision. And that they just try and play every team hell for leather. And look, they beat AZ and they deserve to beat AZ over 2 legs. But if they open up and concede that volume of chances against any of the remaining teams that are left in the Europa League, they ain't winning it. You can't. Yeah. In cup football, you can't keep conceding that amount of shots on. It's why Inter Milan have got a great chance of winning it this year. Because they barely concede gilt-edged chances. They barely concede goals. And in knockout football, being strong defensively, being hard to break down and hard to create clear-cut chances against, you're a big step towards winning it instantly. You've got to add goals to your team, and they have the goal Spurs. But AZ, a decent team, though, from the Eredivisie. Look what happens. They play Fulham. All right? They play Fulham, who I believe are better than AZ. And look at that, bang, they lose 2-0. And yes, they gave it a good go in the second half and they created chances. He is just not the man for Tottenham. And this summer, they have to remove him. They need a manager that can that can coach a team where he's never going to have the best in class. That's what Ange needs. Ange is maybe a byproduct of the Pep stuff you mentioned earlier, Mo. He needs to have the best, maybe second best squad in the league to play his brand of football where he can just play it one way, 35 to 38 games a season with the occasional adaptation and just see where they land. He's never going to have that squad at Tottenham, no matter how rich they become, because Tottenham are never going to be more attractive than City, than Liverpool, than Chelsea, than United, than Arsenal. You could argue moving forward, they're not going to be more attractive than Newcastle.
Aston
Villa potentially, especially if they go far in the Champions League. There are between, that's too far. There are at least 5 to 7 teams in the Premier League that are more attractive than Tottenham. So what you need to do is find a manager that can get the very best out of what you can attract.
What do they do next? Where do they go next from here? Because they've had Conte. Yeah, the win now manager. They've had Jose Mourinho, the CV. They've had Pochettino, the project manager. They've had Nuno, who has assistant player, who's proven at Nottingham Forest that it works, and at Wolves that it worked. Where do they go now after Ange Postecoglou, who's we are who we are, mate? Who do we go? Where do they go now? Because if they want Iriola, is he going to go? Glasner, is he going to go? We've got obviously Kieran McKenna, who a lot of people are talking about, who, to be fair, has done a very, very good job at Ipswich Town. I know it was a bit too much for him in the Premier League, but they're just going back to one of those managers again in that, let's do a project, let's do a process.
But I think it's what they need here. And Cal here says, so hold on a second, right before we're saying you can't just sack Maresca. Well, I didn't say you can't sack him. I said I really don't know what Chelsea need to do to fix themselves because they can't keep sacking managers. But and going and the 7th manager in 6 years coming in is fair game. So the scenario that I see that is different here
is rubbish.
Well, one, there's that, but also I'm going based on what Tottenham fans tell me. Tottenham fans tell me that your ownership are never going to build a squad that's going to get the best out of Ange's football. So therefore, I'm suggesting he should go. If the thought and theory was that they're going to build a squad that is going to be one of the best in the league, and therefore Ange's system would work, I would say stick with him. So again, like I said earlier, we can't treat all teams. I know we want to do this in the social media world where what you say about Arsenal has to match what you say about Liverpool, but football clubs aren't a monolith. Their situations, their scenario are not all the same. Therefore, the solutions cannot be identical. So I'm not saying that Maresca shouldn't be sacked at Chelsea. I'm stating that I don't know if sacking him fixes them because it's a very young squad. And I think those young players need some continuity. They probably need a better manager, but I still think they've got to go through a period of continuity. My issue with Big Ange isn't the lack of continuity at Tottenham. It's the Contes and the approaches for the Joses. I think, again, they were too ambitious for the club. They were never going to build a squad that those managers would get the very best out of based on who they are. They'll kind of win now, if you like. They do need a project manager because your squad is always a project. Your squad is, I can't remember the last time we looked at a Spurs squad and went, that is almost complete. That's one of the best in the league and is going to win the league title. So until you feel confident your ownership are going to build that, I don't think you can have a manager that expects that or needs it. You need a manager, unless you can. You need someone that is going to be adequate for what you're going to build. It needs to match.
But can I ask you, Terry, something? What do you think the target is for Spurs long term? Like if I'm asking you, you say all of this, and I'm listening to you, a project manager. What do you think Spurs' target should be?
Win a trophy.
What it should be to win a trophy and try and get to the top. What
kind of trophy? Like a cup, like
League Cup, FA Cup.
Yeah. I mean, but there's two trains of thought here. Every club's ambitions to be to try and build the best squad possible, to keep growing, to keep getting bigger and better, to one day win the league. That should be every club's ambition. But the timeline is different for everybody because Ipswich having that thought and that end goal, the timeline is longer than Chelsea as an example. But what do I think their goal at the football club is? Their aim is to try and get into the Champions League so they can sell more marketing and advertising.
So you think Brighton have the same, like Brighton want to win a cup, of course.
Yes.
Bournemouth. But do you think Brighton are aiming, like now they're sitting in rooms and thinking in 5-6 years we should be challenging for the Premier League, for example?
Maybe not.
I'm asking.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're thinking that. Hang on. But what I'll say about Brighton is this: Brighton didn't go out in the summer and went, do you know what? Let's throw stupid money at bringing Antonio Conte in to manage what we are. The types of squads that they build at Brighton, and Antonio Conte would never want to manage because they're not ready to go and win now. He'd become frustrated. He'd become annoyed. They hire the coaches that are right for where they currently are in the pyramid of football. And that's what you've got to aim to do as a football club. You have to aim to get the right head coach for the squad and the period of which you are in as a football club. For instance, if Newcastle keep getting better, as mentioned by Steve earlier, they build an even better squad. They start challenging for the league, but Eddie Howe can't quite get them over the line. The next step isn't another Eddie Howe. The next step might be an Antonio Conte because the squad is brilliant. But that's where they are at that moment. Spurs have not had a squad in the last 3 or 4 years where I think you can go out and get one of the world's best managers who's going to walk in and go, fucking yes, look at that squad. I just think that's crazy to me. I personally think that's crazy. What you need is a head coach that matches the ambition of your club and where you currently are in football to move you and develop you forward. So I just think I think there's a very good coach in there, but what he needs is a team that's one of the best in its league. And Spurs are not going to build that, in my opinion. So I just think it's a bad match. And like Twisted, you can say look closer to home, but I've called my own club out for these things. Where Man United are does not dictate my opinion of other football clubs. Come on, Twisted Bubba. It's a crazy thing to say. You're doing the basic bitch stuff that other shit channels do.
Last. Let's go.
So yeah, I think they've got to move on from him. And the way he's kind of bugging out and losing, and this is also it. His mindset ain't built for being at Tottenham, not because they're too big for him or too small for him, but he knows he ain't got the squad to play the way he wants. He's losing his mind because the results aren't there. And he doesn't want to do it a different way. It's just, it's going to become, it's already toxic. You don't talk to the media like he does and kick off with fans like he does if it isn't toxic. That doesn't happen. So for me, they've got to move on from him. They really, really do, in my personal opinion.
I don't think Spurs will be a top team again, to be honest.
I do
Even if
agree
they
with
make
that. I
Champions
think
League.
the road to come back is a long road, and this is why I understand Mo's questioning. Mo's essentially saying, okay, what's the end game here? That's basically what he's saying. So what's the ultimate target? You know, the target for Arne Slot ultimately is to win a Premier League and a Champions League in the same season. The road for Arteta eventually is to win a Premier League. We all know what the end goal is.
Even the aim for United, Husam, even for Man United.
Even Ineos and Bummy Man United have said that in 2030 they want to be challenging for a Premier League. So khalas, we have a roadmap. We have exactly the target. You know, we know what they're looking at. But with Spurs, there is no real target. I mean, Kai mentioned it in the chat. You know, it's just get top 4 because it's lucrative, so they can get more people in the Beyonce concert, and that's it. Spurs are a waste of our time. They're a waste of everyone's time. I never ever put my foot off Spurs' neck, because I remember all the stupid shit they said after the first 10 games last season. I'll never forget all the silly arguments I had to hear, all the stupid stuff I had to hear. I remember coming on Spurs match reactions and seeing like about 15 Spurs fans, you know, oh guys, here's Orchi, here's young Dan, here's Deji, here's this guy. Now it's like, oh, today we have Deji joining us. And then, you know, the one after today we got Kate joining us. They all quit.
Yep. And I hear that. And look, United and Spurs are now the same level. But this is the thing. I know where my club is, and I've sat on many shows and spoke about my team and criticized them, and I understand.
But they have an end game.
And even if we don't, the conversations about Tottenham football. You know, I created the Football Terrace where we, you know, not everyone's copied the idea, but everyone now has shows and channels like the Football Terrace. Where my club is doesn't dictate that I like something because Man United are bad doesn't mean I can't have opinions about other teams that are struggling. If that's the case, everyone's got to shut down their channels this season, barring Liverpool, which is just ridiculous. But I know where Man United are, and I will say this: I think Man United have got a far greater chance of getting back to the top than Spurs ever getting there.
That's the easiest bet you've made in your life. That's not
exactly. So that's why I don't even think
that's not even the same thing. Is because Manchester United have been absolutely abysmal and they're still winning trophies. And Tottenham, who have had their best period, and everyone is saying they're excited about this. And oh wow, Ange is coming in. They spent 400 million euros. They still can't win anything. This is what is mad to me. The amount of Spurs fans that give it to us because they are competing alongside Arsenal. My goodness, we are not happy. They're really happy that they're coming into the 4th position. They were doing cartwheels on their roundabout when they beat us to 4th. And I'm sitting there going, we just lost another Premier League title. This is the mentality of that club. It's as long as they beat Arsenal, as long as they're better than Arsenal, they look at the 38-game fixtures and they go, don't worry about them 36. When have we got Arsenal at home and when we got Arsenal away? That's all they care about, these Spurs fans. They don't care, so they don't win anything.
Agree 110%. Look, I want to thank everyone who's tuned into the show today. We're back later on with Fan Channel Review and the Top 6 show at 6 p.m. So make sure you're all here for that, where we're going to be covering a few more subjects and big transfer stories rearing their heads today as well that need a bit of discussion. Gents, thank you all for coming on. I really do appreciate this. Until you guys have postponed MHF, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I want to make sure I read that right. Potsy, always a pleasure. Until next time, people, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again soon. Peace.